Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. I'm really nervous about this episode. I was starting to feel good again, you know? I was starting to feel good. Episodes 1 and 2 were such a rush, and I was excited. Episodes 3, 4, and 5, I was like, oh, we're learning some lore. We're getting into Erwin's dilemma. Episode 6 was a mind trip, but then episodes 7 and 8 and 9 were just like this empowering feeling like, yeah, our team stopped the King Titan. We made it to where the people knew Historia was a badass and was awesome, and everything was great. And in the last 5 minutes, Isayama was like, hey, remember how the show's gonna wreck you? Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. I waited a couple days after episode 9, but I can't wait anymore. I made myself wait because as soon as episode 9 was over, I wanted to watch it. I wanted to binge watch, and I was like, no. I thought about watching 2 episodes in a night, and I was like, no, I just went on an hour-and-a-half rant. No. So I've made myself wait a couple days to cool down and to let y'all have some more comments come out on Patreon and YouTube so I could write them down and talk about them before this episode. And I'm glad I did because there were some things pointed out that I thought were really good to note. So yay. So let's go over those before I start this episode. This episode's called Friends. I think of 2 things. I think of, I'm from a very rural Midwestern part of the United States, so I grew up listening to country music, so I think of Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks. I think of that song, first of all. And then I think of the Disney movie Princess and the Frog, where it's like, I've got friends on the other side, the villain song. I think of those 2 things. So those are my immediate thoughts with this episode. Friends. I don't get the feeling it's going to be about the warm, fuzzy Nakama like I think it's going to be. This ain't going to be free. No. Because Kitty has the vial of Titan serum and the needle. He could inject it. He could swallow it. He can inject it. There's lots of things he can do. It's lethal. It's pretty much lethal no matter what you do with it. So I'm terrified. Absolutely terrified. I'm curious to know, do you have to ingest it, or can it just touch your skin and have a reaction? Because if it just touches your skin and has a reaction, that's a problem. So I'm really nervous with this episode. So I want to go over some notes before we start because it's freezing. I have a blanket like in my lap because it is freezing cold outside, and it's so cold that I'm like, I need to warm up, and I have a feeling I would be sweating by the end of this episode. So there's that. But let me note a few things. So episode 8 just premiered on Patreon, and episode 6 just got done on YouTube. So I want to note a couple of things. Nathan Hardy noted in episode 8 that right before, or I guess it was right before episode 7 ended, that Levi in the manga chokes Historia? What? So Nathan pointed out that in that moment in episode 8 where Mika says, like, you know, you can punch the shrimp later when you're queen. And I was like, oh, that's referencing Levi just putting the whole queendom on her at the last minute right when they showed up. And Nathan says no, that Levi actually tries to choke her in the manga when she says she doesn't want to be queen for a second. And I was like, whoa, I can see with Levi's fan base why they wouldn't want to animate that. And plus it kind of, you know, veers off course from the plot, but that's crazy. I'm eventually going to read the manga, so I'm going to want to look at that. That's crazy talk. But yeah, interesting. So the other thing is, and these are kind of more notes leading back about previous episodes, but the weird pianist wanted to note that Annie can call Titans to her, but she can't control them, which is good. And the Beast Titan can apparently control them, or at least has some kind of ability to communicate with them and influence them. Because back in episode 1 of season 2, the Beast Titan told those Titans to just stay there and not attack Mike, and they listened to him. So I don't know if that was an intimidation factor or if he literally was controlling them. So that's interesting to know, that the Beast Titan can control the other Titans to an extent, but Annie just calls them to her. So I'm curious. That's interesting. Very interesting. So I'm going to file that away for now. Also noted is the idea that we've had this big discussion in the comments section about the language of the Titans. I thought back in episode 8 that the language on the vials, and this will kind of tie into this episode, the language on the vials was a different language, was the Titan language. But several of you have pointed out that it's not, that it's actually in English. So that makes me feel a little bit better. It gives a little bit more credibility that Rod Reese on the one hand, it gives credibility because it's like, oh, Rod Reese just wasn't giving Historia a random vial of Titan serum. He knew what he was doing, kind of. But also, he was going to give her the colossal Titan serum, supposedly, because he turns into like a colossal-sized Titan. So I'm like, you were going to give Historia a Titan serum to turn her into a giant Titan inside an underground cavern? That seems like a bad idea. I was like, why didn't you give her the armored Titan? Or give her any other serum if she was just going to eat Eren without any problem, right? Unless Rod Reese was suspecting that Kenny was going to betray him, unless he was suspecting that something bad was going to go down, so he brought out the big guns just in case. I don't know. I was just like, Rod, that seems really stupid. And maybe that's what Kenny was talking about in episode 8 and episode 9, being like, yeah, you done goofed. I thought you knew how this works. So maybe that's what Kenny was referring to as well. But yeah, the language in the bottle not being different, that's interesting to note. Dennis A., I have to point you out on YouTube. We've been having this talk about the controversy with the chairs. That the chairs are a trope in this show. And Dennis pointed out that all of our chair discussions have led to Zachary making the one chair that mattered, the torture chair. And I was like, haha, you see, almost foreshadowing from the start of the season. We just weren't privy to how deep this foreshadowing went. And now it's lanterns. So there you go. We'll see what happens there. But the other big discussion that came about was the idea of Eren biting his hand, because we see Frida do that. And Baku noted, as well as the Weird Pianist, as well as Nathalie. We had this big old discussion on YouTube and in Patreon about it. But the idea of Eren biting his hand is something that came from Frida, because several of you have pointed out that none of the other Titan shifters bite their hands. They all cut their palms. And I had noted in the comments that back in episode 5 of season 2, Bertholdt does the whole, like, he's about to bite his hand when Ymir pops up. And I was like, well, but Bertholdt is about to do it. But Nathalie points out that that moment with Bertholdt about to bite his hand in episode 5 of season 2 is an anime-only edition. And I was like, oh. So I don't know if the anime was just putting that in there to try to give us a little foreshadowing that, oh, Bertholdt is a Titan, if that was just to see if anybody would catch it. But apparently it doesn't happen in the manga. So, clearly, Eren has gained this conscious, habit of trying to bite his hand to transform from Frida. And Nathalie brought up a really good point in the comments on YouTube that's kind of terrifying when you think about it, that Eren has all of these memories from his father and from Frida inside of him that he's acting upon, but doesn't quite know what's his memories and what's their memories. And Grisha, several of you noted that back in episodes prior, Grisha said, their memories will guide you, meaning I'm guessing the previous coordinates, I guess? So that's what makes me think, too, my theory that Eren has Reese blood in him. If Eren can get the memories of the previous coordinates and Grisha knew that, then maybe Grisha knew that Eren had royal blood in him. So that's just lending to my theory. But I think that's really... Eren's gone through some trauma in this season. And there are no therapists in the world of Attack on Titan. I've noticed most anime don't have therapist characters. For reasons, I'm sure. But Eren's gone through some trauma, which is kind of sad and terrifying. Yeah. But yeah, the idea that he doesn't know exactly what memories are his is really fascinating to me. And we'll have to talk in the recap more about that. So yeah, very interesting. So I'm not sure what all we're going to be doing in this episode. Like I said, I am terrified. I am nervous because the last several episodes, I've had no clue what's going to happen. Episode 7, no clue. Episode 8, kind of had an idea because Rod had turned into a giant monstrosity, but episode 9, no clue. So I've been going in completely blind to these episodes, and that's great because then I get to go back and discuss them afterwards and review them and see them a second time. But I also have no clue what to expect. And so my mind is literally a blank slate. But I don't like that Kenny has the vial. I don't like that he has a needle. Kenny's a wild card. I don't trust him. And the fact that him and Levi are alone is terrifying. And we're on episode 10. There's only 2 episodes after this. Nope. Nope. Not feeling it. Not feeling it. So I just need to take a deep breath. I'm getting warmed up already. I'm getting sweaty already just thinking about this episode. So yeah, we're 10 minutes in. We might as well start. But guys, we're on episode 10. I don't know what to expect, y'all, but pray for me. I feel like you're going to be doing that in part 2. We're not even there. We're not even through part 1 yet. So in any case, let's do this, shall we? Episode 47. We're almost to the halfway point of the series, right? Right? We're past the halfway point? I can't believe we're literally, if you think about it, we're literally only halfway through the series, because right now, season 4, we're at 76 episodes, and that's before part 2, and even if they have 12 episodes, we're still only like halfway through the series. What? Oh, God. So, yeah, let's do this, shall we? We're going to start episode 10 of season 3 here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see y'all on the other side. Oh. Oh my God, he's dead. Oh. Well. Okay. Wow. I don't know. There was a part of me going into this, ever since we met Kenny in episode 1, there was a part of me that was like, he's not going to live past season 3. I was like, nah, he's going to be our villain, our antagonist through season 3. No. Nope. Not true. Not really an antagonist in the end, right? That's the one thing that I want to comment on that is going to come up in the recap for sure. But this idea has been going this whole season, and this is going to be like a major theme in the recap. But the idea that what are the sides anymore? Who is the enemy? Erwin asked Eren that way back in episode 15 in season 1. Who is the enemy? And it just depends on what side you're on and what you think. And Isayama's doing this really good job of taking characters that we think are antagonists and think they are villains and humanizing them in such a way that you realize, no, they're just people trying to survive that make choices that impact others, and those others that are impacted by their choices retaliate to that. So I can't believe, I thought Kenny was going to die this season, but I really thought it was going to be in part 2. I really thought, if anything, Kenny was going to make it to part 2, and then that's when he was going to die, but he did die in Levi's arms, practically. And I'm glad Levi found out it was his uncle. I'm glad that Levi learned that he didn't learn anything the problem is he learned nothing from this flashback. We, the audience, learned everything that Kenny knew, but Levi learned none of it. The only thing he learned was that Kenny was his brother. That was it. He didn't learn really anything about Uri, about any of this. We learned it, but he didn't. So I'm like, shit. I'm just like, we still have so many characters that don't know the full context of what's going on, but we, the audience, are learning the full context. So, I mean, it's going to make it interesting to see how these characters interact with one another. But yeah, the point is, Kenny wasn't really a villain. He was just a man that was spurned. He was a slave to power. And he wanted power to make a difference and to do what he could. And this episode was heavy. There is a lot in this episode go down. I had to bring Whiteboard Coon out because I was like, nope. Last episode we got away without him. And I was like, not this time. No way. There's too much going on. Uri is so fascinating. And Uri's philosophy, his mannerisms, everything we're going to talk about Uri. There's so much that I'm like, wait, what? That's coming into play in all of this that I'm so curious about. We met Kutchel. God, she was beautiful, and then she died. Ugh. I don't know if you've ever seen Interview with a Vampire, but I got very Interview with a Vampire vibes. Like when Lestat finds Claudia, and it's like during the time of the plague, and in Interview with a Vampire, when Lestat finds Claudia, it's during the plague, and she's in a home and her mother's dead and has been dead for a while, and Claudia's like on the brink of death too, but she's managed to outlive her mom. It reminded me of that scene when he finds Levi and Kutchel's been dead, like long enough for rigor mortis to set in, and long enough, it kind of looked like Marco, like long enough that the teeth and stuff were starting to retract, the lips were retracting into the teeth, and Levi was like on the brink of death. Meaning that, and that guy down below had said she'd been sick for a while, so she's been dead for a while. It's like, ugh. So yeah, we need to talk about this episode. I didn't foresee Kenny dying. All of my theories about if Kenny was going to turn into a Titan or not, that all got brought up. And he wanted to, but he just couldn't do it because he was going to be a dumb Titan. But he was thinking about it to prolong his life. But we're going to talk about why he wanted the coordinate powers. That's so fascinating. And what it means for Eren and all of this, because very interested. Uri is such an interesting character after this episode because, to be honest, I feel like that's all we're going to get about Uri for a long time. Unless Eren taps into those memories, because the only ones that can really give us any insight about Uri that are still alive were Rod, Reese, and Kenny, and they're dead now. So we're not going to get any more about Uri for a while, I feel, unless Sonus says something. I'm glad we got confirmation that was Sonus too, by the way. Getting Kenny's backstory, I wanted it. And then Isiam was like, do you really want it? It's like, But we need to talk about this episode because a lot goes down. A lot goes down. And then right at the very end, Isiam was like, oh, hey, don't forget about Bertholdt and Reiner and the Beast Titan. Seemingly outside of Wall Maria. Outside of Wall Maria training. Oh, buddy. Okay. All right. So at the very beginning here, I was like, what are they building? They're building a platform for Historia's coronation, indeed, and Niall's overseeing it. And so we have the banner, and it's Sina, Maria, and Rose, and they all have 3 different kinds. I want to see if there's any, if there's some significance to all this, because we get 3 banners, right? And Sina, Wall, Maria, and Rose, there's 3 color schemes. I would like to point something out. I'd like to point out something very important here. So we have the 3 walls and the 3 women with I'm going to draw up here. It's not going to be the best, but we have one that they all have different things coming out of them and different color schemes. I want to make note of this because I think it's rather important. One looks like has like the least crowny of the crowns. But the design on there is interesting. The design is kind of like, it looks like a skeleton. It looks like a spine, right? It's a spine. And then the image coming out of it are 2 arrows. And a spine. Interesting. It's all got like this woven in effect. Interesting. And then the next one, I'm going to try to save space. Draw him. The next one over has like this weird like moon and sun pattern. There's lots of swirls. It has a crown that looks a little bit more like a crown, but it has like moons and this kind of pattern on it. It looks very interesting. It's very pretty. That's like coming off the blades. Okay. There's that pattern. And then the last one is trees and roses, right? So there are trees. You can see the branches coming off of them. And then there are roses, right? That's not a very good rose. Yeah, there are roses coming off of it. And I want to make a note that the one that has the roses and chains in the background, it has chains. This is like the most random drawing. If somebody just gets on here at this exact moment, they're going to be like, what is she drawing? But it has chains. So, interesting. Okay, now here's the thing. They've all got different color schemes. The one is like a lime green and like a orange color. A lime green. The one with the arrows is like lime green and orange. The one with the moon and stars is like yellow and purple. So you got complementary colors. And then the one below with the roses and the trees is red and green, right? With the chains. In Eren's flashback under the tree, there was an image back in episode 1 of the entire show. There was an image of curtains and they were red and green, the same color pattern as the shield with the roses and the trees and the chains. And that one has a crown that looks the most regal of all the crowns. But here's the thing. Back when Eren had that vision in episode 1, right? Back when Eren had that vision in episode 1, that was before Wall Maria fell, right? So that was before Wall Maria fell. So that was before Grisha gave him the power of the coordinate. So what? So why was he having flashbacky dreams at that point? Why was he having flashback dreams at that point if he hadn't even ate the coordinate yet? Because obviously when he ate the coordinate, he gained Frida and Grisha's memories. So it would make sense if he saw something regal and it be Frida's memories. But the fact that he hadn't yet is curious. So I'm just going to note that you know what? Now that I'm here, I'm going to go back to episode 1. While I'm here, I'm going to go back to episode 1. And bear with me. I'm going to find that shot from episode 1. Because I want to know. Okay. So I'm looking back at episode 1. Right? I'm looking back at episode 1. Okay. And there's the blood. There's things. There's somebody being picked off the ground. There's a windmill. There's titans. There's something getting eaten. There's a royal family military outfit on. Right? There's toys and like a family thing, and it's green and red. And there's like a crown, but then there's a flower. So, but the language on the curtains don't look exactly like the Titan language. I don't know. It's just enough. And then there's the image of the Titan that eats Carla's mom. And then Eren wakes up. There's something to it. There's something to Isayama just wouldn't give a random pattern to all this. He wouldn't give a random pattern. No, I don't believe Isayama would. There's something to it that's important. The arrows, the sun and moon with the vines and everything, and then the chains. So I'm wondering, the roses and the chains and the trees. The trees seem most connected to the family crest, which is the tree coming out with 3 branches, right? And the chains, if it's the middle one, I'm wondering if that's Cena. Cena's the one at the head. So I wonder if that's Cena. And that one if that's Cena. And the chains are referring to how when people pass on the powers, they're chained up. Like it's going on either side, like they're being chained up to pass on the power. So I'm wondering if that's Cena in the middle there. And then Rose and Maria are on either side. But I'm going to be curious. I wonder if... Because we talk about the one that looks like it's a spinal column with the arrows. I wonder if it's Rose or Maria, if that's where the Titan serum comes into play from that side of the family, from her line. What? And then I don't understand what the symbolism of that is, but if that's... Because if you had a spear, like a sword and a shield, could this be like the shield, and this is the sword, and this is the crown? I don't know. It's curious. I'm going to go ahead and erase this so we can go on with the episode. But it's fascinating. I digressed. I went on like a 10-minute juncture and we're like 30 seconds into the episode. That's how this is getting, right? So that's very interesting, right? And so then we cut to Levi and them looking on the ground, trying to find Kenny. And we get confirmation that the other members of the Kenny squad, they're all dead. They got crushed in the process. They got crushed, but Kenny somehow made it out. Right. And they found Kenny. And then we got to the OP. So yeah, there's so much to talk about. Friends. Man, Isayama was just like, are you ready for lore? Are you ready for this? I don't think you are. So this opening shot of Kenny brandishing the knife against Uri as the Titan, looking absolutely terrified. Like his face, he looks mortified because, yeah, he'd never seen a Titan before. Kenny had never encountered an actual Titan because I'm assuming that means, well, yeah, there had not been an attack on Wall Maria yet during this, so he wouldn't have known what a Titan even looked like because that was before the Titans attacked Wall Maria. So Uri was the first time he had ever seen one. And then, the hat falling off. And then him. So the Titan already was disintegrating and Uri was coming out. I never imagined there was someone stronger than me in the world. Because of the Ackermann's ability. We're going to talk about that. The Ackermann's ability. So, I'm going to have up here in the corner. We're just going to leave that be for now because that's going to come back in. But yeah, so I never imagined there was someone stronger than me. So it's the Ackermanns. The idea that power like erupts within you and you suddenly get this like burst of energy and you know what to do. Okay. So then Uri. And Uri looking very stern. So this is a Titan. But it's very... It's like nightmare fuel. It's not fully formed either. To think that they really existed. So at this point... this is before Wall Maria fell. So for like nearly 100 years, people didn't know if Titans really existed or not. They just were thought to be beyond the walls. And so for him to see one for the first time and it to be Uri, and what's more within the walls. So yeah, he had no clue what was going on. So it looks like the horse is sitting down on the ground and the cart is pushed over. So it seems like, all right, we're gonna have to make a timeline here of how this all goes down, right? So obviously, all right, so at some point in the past, before Wall Maria fell, Kinney was jumping Rod and Uri to try to like either kill them, either he figured out it was Rod and Uri, the king and his brother, or I find it interesting that Uri was the king and Rod was not until Uri died. And then Rod became the king, even though Frida was technically the founding Titan at that point. Interesting. But yeah, so that he tried to jump him and it didn't work, but this Titan is like melded into the ground and its face, it has a very, very human face. A like bald human face. It's kind of creepy and it's huge, right? Okay. And Rod is with him. See, this is the thing that Isayama does. We don't get the full context until later. That's what I love about this series, is that Isayama presents you with a scene, like a few episodes ago, when we saw, or last episode, when we saw Kinney coming up the hill, and he was only focused on him and Yuri's conversation. We didn't even see Rod in the picture. And now we get the full picture and realize Rod's there. So it's like, there's so many moments in this show that I feel like when I get done with episode 12, before I do the recap, I need to go back and rewatch the series. Because I'm assuming there's going to be so much stuff that now we know the context, it's all going to be different. Oh God. But yeah, so Rod wanted to shoot him. Rod wanted to kill him. That's interesting. And Uri tells him not to shoot. Yeah. Whoever it was who told him about us is likely part of the council. So someone ratted out the location. So that was it. Someone in the military police ratted them out. And I'm assuming that Kinney killed them because he was killing military police. I'm assuming he killed the military police and they were just like, oh, we'll tell you where Uri and Rod are. And then he killed him, right? Mm-hmm. And that knife looks like, I wonder if Levi's going to take the knife. I wonder if Levi's going to take Kinney's knife. I don't know. I hope he does. But I wonder if like the knife's like an Ackermann thing passed down. And so Uri immediately knows that he can't use his power on Kinney. He knows, he says, that's something I cannot do. He can't use his power on him. Okay. If I had to guess, this man is a descendant of the Ackermann family. And it's just like his grandfather told him. So we can assume this is right after his grandfather talked to him. In which case, his reasons for raising a blade are within the man himself. Oh. And you see the coordinate's eyes are gray and purple. Which is interesting. Because Frida had blue eyes, and then her eyes turned like gray and purple when she gained the coordinate powers. His reasons are within the man himself. Meaning that maybe he can't control it. Maybe the Ackermanns can't control their hatred towards the royal family. I don't know. And then, and he threw the knife at Uri, and Uri saved it by stopping it with his hand. Oh. And he doesn't scream or anything. He just stops it. And then he says, forgive me, will ya? And then I didn't get a chance to catch this conversation. He's like, you're the true king, ain't ya? So yeah, that he knows they're the king and not Fritz. Okay, on the throne, yeah. I gotta escape. I wanted to hear this conversation. Let me go and give me another chance. And he looks so pitiful there, like begging for his life. Up against such overwhelming might, I was powerless. I'll do it right next time and attack you while you sleep. Oh my God. You gotta admit, stuffing your skull with shit is such a nice idea. Oh my God. After all, he literally could have crushed me to death, but he didn't, right? Oh, I was gonna pack you so full of shit it'd blow a new hole in your ass. Oh my God. Violence was all I had, and even that failed me. So I want to put this up here. Violence, all they have. All right. I'm going to put that up there for now. Okay. And even that had failed me. Okay. So now that I think about it, my family's grudge never even meant much to me. It's not my fault. I can't control my creativity. Oh my God. It's like what he's thinking and saying being total opposites. But then he lets him down. Oh. And Rod's like, you're crazy. And that calls back to Levi when that one inner policeman was like, you're insane. And Levi's like, maybe I am. So we're going to put crazy down here on the Ackermann side. Because Mikasa's kind of crazy too, right? We're going to put that down there. And then he just sits down and he says, my legs. Because his legs were crushed. And then Uri's still with the knife. But with like the robes and everything. What was that for? He's an Ackermann. You can't erase his memory. And Kenny knows by now that he can't. And then he pulls out the gun. He says, we got to kill him. But then Uri bows to him. And Kenny's like, excuse me? And he says, considering how the Ackermanns have been persecuted in our name, then your hatred is justified. I'm afraid I cannot die right now because the power has to be passed on, right? And so Uri's begging for his life, essentially, because, yeah, Kenny could have just shot him. I mean, I don't think it would have killed him because he doesn't know how Titan powers work, but he could have shot him. But Uri's like, I have to stay alive for now. But he's like, you're justified in hating us. So Uri, I want to make a note about Uri because Uri is very interesting. So I'm going to put Uri down here. Uri has a thing about hatred being justified, saying that the Ackermanns, they had every right to hate them because of what they were doing to their family. So yeah, he seems understandable about it all. And he says, please forgive me. And Rod's like, what? And that moment, and he's sitting there bowing with the knife still in his forearm. That's crazy. Even within such tiny walls, to be unable to build paradise. So yeah, we're going to tie this back. I'm a fool. So, Uri's idea of building paradise. Okay. And tying this back to the overall, the Titan, the coordinate, the founding Titans. I'm assuming maybe this is the founding Titan's dream. We're going to come back to that. But his idea that within these tiny walls, we can't build paradise. I'm a fool. And that does it for Kenny. That in that moment, Kenny's saying for a king that held so much power that he'd never seen before, the power to crush him, had bowed down to trash like me. Yeah, his Titan alone shocked me plenty. But him doing that rattled something inside me like never ever before. And maybe that's it, because Nathalie commented, being like, the Ackermanns, it's interesting. Nathalie commented, why would the Ackermanns, who have the ability to not be controlled by the royal family, who have the ability to have this power innate within them, why would they be protectors of the royal family for all this time until they dissented and were persecuted? Why had they even been protectors from the start? Because Nathalie pointed out that's a pretty big risk to have someone be the protector of your family that could technically overpower your family because you can't control them. But through this and this relationship here, the idea is it's kind of it makes sense in Kenny's case why he follows Uri, because Uri, despite the fact that he could crush him and could have killed Kenny, he bowed down to Kenny. The king bowed down to Kenny and asked Kenny for forgiveness, showing his compassion and showing his kindness and humbleness and respect towards Kenny. So that could be part of it. But then also, it makes sense for Uri to do that because Uri knows that Kenny's an Ackermann and can't be controlled by him. So Uri's actions totally make sense. It's like, of course Uri wants Kenny on his side because Kenny is a potential threat. So if Kenny's on his side, he's no longer a threat. It's making, the whole idea of this whole series being called Making Friends. And we're going to talk about this when Kenny and them have a conversation later. But the idea of making friends, taking your enemies and making them into friends. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, it makes sense why Uri's doing this. Yeah, I said right there, I wanted to help him, and Uri nodded. So yeah, so Kenny gets taken in by Uri because he's like, he wanted to repay, because Uri didn't kill him. So Kenny wanted to repay the debt. But there's more to it than that, right? So we know that Kenny, because he was spared by Uri, wanted to repay the debt that he owed him, because he could have killed him, but he didn't. So he wanted to repay that debt. Got it. And Uri's like, okay, then we'll use you. And then I love that shot of him with the legs up on the table. It's callback to then the bar scene in the OP. At the very next council, Missing was the one who tipped me off to Rod Reese. Yeah, so they got rid of the guy that tipped him off. They got rid of him. Yeah. Obviously they killed him. And in his place was the Reese's new dog, legs stretched up on the table. Yeah, and Kenny's the new dog. Yep. So we see all the guys. They're much younger in here. Like the one guy that I'd have to figure out his name again on here. But the one guy that was the merchant, I think it was like Helkoff or something. The merchant, his hair's blonde. It's not as ashen. Gerald looks younger. The guy on the wall looks younger. And then the other guy, Auril, if it's the same man, he's a lot thinner. So time, definitely in the past. Gotcha. Interesting. And I like that his hat, that was my new line of work. So I like this hat still has the blood on it. The blood from the military police. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. It's like Kenny not only joined the military police to repay his debt to Uri, but it was pathetic for me, but it ended the Ackermann's persecution, meaning that his sister wouldn't be targeted. However, walking around in broad daylight was something that I wouldn't risk, because I'm sure some people still would have a grudge against the Ackermanns or try to get rid of them, right? And plus he killed all those military police, so people are probably still looking for him too, if they don't realize that he's in the police now. And he's in the underground city with the coat still stained with blood, but I had fewer enemies. Because he'd made new friends. And then, Kuchel, if you mean Olympia. A very Titan-like name. I'm just going to throw it out there. Yeah, Kuchel. I'm just going to throw it out there. Olympia sounds like the name of a Titan. I'm just saying. It sounds very old and Greek. Sounds very much like the Greek gods, Roman gods. Probably more Roman. Olympia. Going by Olympia. Interesting. I find that curious. Again, we're going to talk about their innate ability here in a little bit. But then the guy says that she's been sick for so long now, she hasn't sold in ages. And this guy has barely any teeth. But yeah, she hasn't basically sold herself out. And then they go inside the house and there's kitchen equipment and everything. Even though and I'm like, he stares at her and she's clearly dead. She looks so disgusting. You've lost a ton of weight since last time, Kuchel. He probably thought she was just asleep. And then he notices Levi. And he says she's dead. God. And you? He says, are you alive? Oh, man. So I can't believe... And Levi, this whole time, sitting up there with her while she's been dead. Yeah, what a backstory, right? And then we cut back to the moment that he met him. But then he asks if he has a name. And he says Levi. Just Levi. No last name. And that's when Kenny drops the bag. And we don't know what's in the bag, but he drops it. And Kenny, that shot of Kenny sliding down the wall next to his dead sister. And his eyes are covered. And you can tell he's just sad because I get it, Kuchel. That's true. Not worth using your name. Didn't want to give him the name to worry about. Because at that time, even if their persecution had ended, she didn't want Levi to run the risk of somebody catching that last name and trying to kill him, so she didn't give him the name. And that's when he says, I'm Kenny, And just Kenny. I love that. Levi, just Levi. He says Kenny, just Kenny. It makes sense. He didn't want his name involved. He didn't want Levi questioning to finding anything else out. So at some point in all this, after he joins, at some point, not very long after, like not a lot of time after, he finds Levi and Kutchel. But not long after he joins the military police, right? It doesn't seem like it because his coat still... He hasn't changed into the black coat yet, so not much time has passed since then, right? I used to know Kutchel. Yeah, nice to meet you. And then, yeah, the shot of, again, an unfriendly brat on the brink of death is all Kutchel left behind. And the sad part is, Kenny, Kenny, like, wants to love him. But like he says to Levi, he's like, I'm not worth being a father. Because he didn't think he was worth it. Like, he didn't think that someone like him could be redeemable enough to have their own kid. So he didn't want to be a parent to Levi. But I want to point out that shot of Levi eating the bread and like gnawing on it and eating it, it reminded me a lot of Eren at the end of season 1 eating the bread, and then Mikasa and Armin eating the bread, and the Titans eating the people. All the parallels, right? To survive, right? And Kenny saying, I wasn't so heartless that I'd let the run die. At that point, I was like, well, damn it. Kenny's not a bad person. He didn't want Levi to die. But I wasn't stepping in as a parent either. And then poor Levi, there wasn't much I could teach him. But first up was how to grip a knife. And then how to get along with people. Like teaching him how to get along with people. And it's just Levi like killing all these people. And then Kenny being crazy and saying how to say hello. And how to swing a deal and how to swing a knife. And we see Levi getting the color back in his skin. It's not ashen anymore. And he's like gaining a little muscle. And he's like growing up and looks a little different. The animation in the last episode made his nose look bigger than it was. So that's why I didn't recognize it as Levi. But it makes sense that it's him now. It was just something with the animation. But yeah, him watching him. Basically all one needs to know how to survive in the underground. So he's like, I'm not going to be this kid's parent. It's too dangerous. My line of work is too dangerous to have a kid running around. If something bad happens, he'll be targeted. And it's like, it's tough love to the extreme, right? Kenny never did anything to harm him, but he showed Levi how dangerous he was and taught Levi how to be dangerous. And just enough to know. And he's like, I want this kid to be able to survive on his own in the underground. And if he chooses to go above ground, that's his own choice. But down here, he's not known to be an Ackermann. Down here, he might be safer. So it's like tough love. Like Kenny wanted to protect his nephew, but couldn't be a parent to him either in the line of work that he was doing. So he just taught him what he needed to know and then left him. Yeah, if you wanted to go above ground, it was up to him. And the symbolism of the knives in this show is so fascinating. Like the symbolism of the knife cutting the hand, that's the symbolism of how the Titans transform. And we see the Survey Corps back in episodes 3 and 4 learning to combat other humans with the knives. And in this episode, Kenny has the knife and it's like a kitchen knife. But I hope they left Levi I hope Levi took his actual knife. That'd be interesting. But yeah, and when the time came, he had to do it himself. And there's little baby Levi looking at the knife. And he looks, here's the thing, Levi kind of looks the same as he does now. He has like a little big head and a little bowl cut, but his eyes and everything. Ugh. And he grips the knife the backwards way. Yeah. So then we go back to Uri, and he's like, let us pray for world peace. Yep. Okay. Let us pray for world peace. Okay. So we'll get into this. And then there's all the members. And okay, you see in the front line, you see Lurch, you see the father, you see the guy, you see all the main players, and then Sonus with Kenny. And Kenny's like, sorry for killing so many of your pals. But here's the thing. But look at you now. The king has made you obedient. Yeah, he has. He's basically put a leash on Kenny. Pretty much. And Kenny kind of looks over at him. His glory is boundless. And Sanus, it sounds like you revere the king like crazy. And he's like, that's why I'm able to do any job asked of me. Are you any different? Yeah, because he knows what impact, why do you abide by the king? Because he knows the impact that he's had on him, right? The impact that Uri has had on him. That's why he follows him. Right? Who knows? Yeah, but we get to, and plus he's the strongest around. So equating power, like he follows him because of power, but that's not the only reason though. No. And then, so we see Levi in our world, the one on top is the one who can show that they're the strongest. So the idea that the strongest is on top and is the winner. So with that in mind, it would make sense why Kenny would follow Uri. It would make sense why a lot of these characters would follow Uri and the royal family, because in this world within the walls, they are the strongest. They have the power to become titans, and they have the power to control people. So yeah, it makes perfect sense why all these people follow him. If you're going by that logic, absolutely. Yeah. And then him beating up the guy and everybody watching, and Kenny saying, power is all you need. Yep. And that line, power is all you need. But clearly, that was not the case, right? So then you got Levi and Kutchel, and then Kenny left Levi. I'm assuming to go into the military police, because at that point when Kenny left Levi did not know that Kenny was in the military police. So I'm assuming that Kenny left. He wanted to make sure Levi was strong enough to take care of himself. So he stayed there a couple of years, made sure Levi was strong enough, and then he left. And he's like, okay, my nephew can take care of himself. He can beat this guy up. We're good to go. I've got to do this dark stuff for the king. So I'm gonna leave. He's like, you do understand, idiot. At least it'll mean you don't go out like my sister did. Meaning that you're not just gonna die powerless. Right? And then that's when Levi's left. Yeah, without him. So here's the thing. We cut to Uri and Kenny watching the ducks on the pond. And he says, I don't have long left. And Kenny says, anyone could tell at a glance. And that's when Kenny dons the black coat. And that's when we have Black Coat Kenny. And that's when Kenny officially joins the military police, right? Because he's wearing the black coat when they go to find Alma and kill her, right? But here's the thing. Here is when Uri and Kenny's conversation happens. Okay? That's not been a lot of time has passed. In this span of time, I would argue that maybe 5 or 6 years has passed at the most. Maybe a year or two at the most. Maybe even it's just been a year or two. But Uri has aged a lot in that short amount of time. Yeah, funny how you're a monster and yet age and disease do you in. Yeah. Uh-huh. You disappoint me. So, okay, now I'm going to back up, right? I'm going to back up because actually I think a lot more time has passed. Because Kenny is pretty young in that flashback. Kenny's pretty young and Levi looked pretty young. Maybe Levi was 10. Okay. I need to think about this for a second. So, okay. So if we're looking at this time span here, maybe in the time that Kenny met Uri to the time that Uri died, if Levi, let's say that Kenny met Uri and then found Kutchel within a year, Levi was probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 or 9 at the most, and was probably 10, probably around 10 years old when Kenny left. So then we cut to probably, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe around 15-ish years later. That's still not a lot of time. And here's the thing. Uri is not that much older than Rod, but has aged so much more than Rod. We need to talk about this in a second. And then when Uri dies, So Uri dying was 8 years ago. Okay? So Levi is 30. So Levi, let's say Levi's 30. Let's just say on average he's 30. So 8 years ago he would have been 22. And so then 12 years. All right, let's say that this was 12 years later. 12 years after Kenny had been. So Kenny had probably been in the military police about 12 years before Uri died. Okay? Or at least a decade. So yeah, I don't have long left. And yeah, here's the thing. Kenny's aged and Rod's aged, but he's aged a lot. You're a monster and yet age and disease do you in. You disappoint me. He says it's not that. Yeah, he says it's not that. This power will be passed down to Rod's children. Okay, but I should live on inside of their memories. Okay, so we need to talk about that. I hadn't even thought about this, but Uri, I asked like way back in episode 6 and 7, I was like, Uri wasn't that much older than Rod. Why was he already passing down the powers? And in the flashback in episode 7, in the flashback, all that light and stuff, you don't really get to see exactly how old Uri is. You get to see it in this episode. So, if we're thinking about it, this ties back to Reiner and Bertolt's conversation way back in season 2, when Reiner was telling Bertholdt in episode 9 and episode 10, it was episode 10, Reiner was saying, well, you should go after Annie because you're both murderers with not much time left in this world, so why don't you just go for it? So, we've been talking about these Titan powers, and if there's a caveat, so does being a Titan limit your lifespan? Yeah. Or let me say this, if you're a Titan shifter, is that the price you pay? Because Ymir was a Titan in Titan form for 60 years. Didn't age a day. Fresh as a daisy. Ate Marcel, came out looking exactly the same as she had when she was eaten. So, when she was first transformed into a Titan, I mean. So, is that the caveat? Is it that if you're a pure Titan, you're dumb but immortal, right? What a funny twist that would be. You're dumb but you're immortal. But if you're a Titan shifter, you're smart and powerful, but you age quickly. Maybe it's the more times you become a Titan, the quicker you age. But that may not be the case because Uri would have really no reason to become a Titan unless he was cornered. So that we know of, the only time he's become a Titan in this has been to get Kenny when he was jumped by him. So, it may not be the case. It may just be that once you become a Titan shifter, you just start aging faster. Which would be why Rod wanted to pass the power off to Frida, who's one of the older children. And then here's the thing, this is why he had all the kids. Because Frida's going to age faster than the others. So whenever she gets too old, it could pass down to one of her siblings, right? So she may age 3 times as fast as her siblings, and by the time she's old enough, she'll just pass it down to one of the other siblings who's younger, and then they'll pass down to their kid or whatever. And here's the thing too, they're not the royal family right now. They're just like some noble family that nobody really thinks much of. They're not known as the royal family, except to those who are in the inner circle. So they could pass Uri off as like a grandfather or an uncle or something, and not the king and not Rod's brother very easily. Oh, so Reiner and Bertolt, do they know that they don't have a lot of time left? That they're going to age faster and faster? Crap. So Eren doesn't know that. And the question is, did Grisha know that? And Levi doesn't know that. Nobody knows this except Kenny. But I should live on inside their memories. And Kenny's like, what the hell does that mean? You can pass down that power? And that smile that Uri has is the same kind of smile that Erwin has when they like know that they're a step closer to the truth. It's interesting. Yeah. Uri is such a fascinating character. I really like him. Kinney, in the not too distant future, this world will crumble. So, the question is, can they see the future? We don't know that. Can they see the future? We don't know. Uri says that the world's going to crumble. He can see it in the not too distant future, which would have been like within the next 10 years. Huh. Or even earlier than that, because it was 8 years ago. So 3 years before Wall Maria fell. This world will crumble. And in humanity's fading twilight, I wish to build paradise. In humanity's fading twilight. So that's a very... I'm going to back up and play that again. Because now I have so many questions with this. In humanity's fading twilight, I wish to build paradise. So it's kind of like he wants to build this perfect little world for them before things go to shit. Okay. But why does he know that this is all going to go downhill? How does he know? To what extent does he know? Does he know that Grisha's coming for the power? Can he see that far into the future? Is it just a feeling? Is it a vibe? What is it? We don't know enough. So then he asks, and then, do you believe in violence? Do you not? It's like you choose violence. It's the unavoidable truth of our world. So violence is unavoidable. Conflict. It's going back to what Erwin said, that conflict is unavoidable. Right? He says you believe in violence, correct? It's the unavoidable truth of our world. Though, when we were at each other's throats, what was it that made us friends? What was it that made us friends? Was it violence? No idea. And there's those purple flowers, but they're different purple flowers. But if you hadn't squeezed me in that stupidly big hand of yours, then I'd have stuffed your skull full of shit for sure. Before we became friends, you know. And it's the unavoidable truth. Okay. like Uri, he's speaking in these themes, and this is getting heavy, y'all. It's getting heavy. So running out of board space. So yeah, Uri's idea. I'm going to go over here with the board space that I have remaining. So the unavoidable truth, right? The unavoidable truth is about violence and the bonds it creates, right? And the bonds it creates. Because here's the thing. Yeah, because in that moment, if Uri hadn't fought back and cornered Kinney, then he wouldn't have been able to make Kinney stop, and he wouldn't have been able to make Kinney listen to him. If Rod had just shot him, then he wouldn't have been able to use Kinney and have had Kinney to help him. And so it's weird. It's almost as if the cycle is perpetuated. But the violence, I talked in the last episode about how things back in season 1 were so simple because it was very black and white. It was like humanity versus the Titans. It was just them versus us, right? And it was that conflict. It was that violence, that conflict that allowed people to become friends that otherwise might not have been, right? So you have these characters like Jean and Eren who normally under normal circumstances would hate each other because they don't mesh. But because they both have a common enemy, being the Titans, then they're able to mesh and talk and communicate because they have to survive because they have to face the Titans. So these characters, like at the time before we figure out that Reiner and Bertolt are Titan shifters themselves, back when everybody was considered to be all humans, you have all these different people from all these different walks of life working together to fight a common enemy. and they create bonds with one another through violence. It's kind of disturbing but true. So it's like Uri is saying, I wanted to create this paradise. And so I'm wondering if the founding Titan's whole deal was that he wanted to create these walls, create this paradise for this kingdom, and use the Titans outside the walls as a threat, but a way to unite humanity. So it was uniting all these people against a common enemy, and it created a sense of peace. And yeah, it kind of makes sense why Uri would believe that. And that sounds great, because they're like, okay, we're creating this perfect world, this utopia, where things are just, it's all like this paradise. Things never change. It's all the same, but we're going to talk about the problem with all this, but there's no problems. It's just, like a society. There's a structure. Yeah, we don't get to go outside the walls, but we're all tied together, right? So it's okay, right? Everybody just lives their humdrum life and it's all fine. And there's peace. And yeah, from Uri's perspective, I guess that makes sense. From Uri's perspective, which becomes Rod's perspective, that kind of all makes sense. The problem with all of this and this paradise is that there's other factors that have come into play over the course of 100 years that have tested that. So there's the idea that people are getting restless and they don't want to be in the cage anymore, and they want to go outside the walls. And there's been people over time that have wanted to explore outside the walls, and they've been silenced. Now the question is, there's the whole question about the anti-personnel thing, and we'll wait on that. I'll wait on that to talk more about this. But yeah, it's like, from Uri's perspective, what he's doing is a great thing. He's like, I'm just trying to perpetuate this world where everybody can be in paradise and be happy and be at peace, and us not have conflict and violence because we're worried about the Titans. The Titans are the enemy. We're not enemies with ourselves. We all become friends to fight a common enemy, right? And that's so true during wartime. I mean, you can look back at so many wars that in our own world we fought, that we've become allies with countries and other people that we didn't think was possible because we were fighting a common enemy, right? And in that enemy's eyes, it's been the same way. It's such a commentary. It's such a commentary that's so true to life, that's so true to real life, is that we make friends with enemies because we're fighting another enemy. The violence, the conflict is unavoidable. It goes back to what Erwin was telling Pixis. As long as humanity exists, then there will be conflict. It's just how humans are. There will always be conflict. But Uri is saying we could take that violence and transform it from being against each other to against something else. And in this case, it's the Titans. And the recap. We're going to talk about Uri. Okay, I have more to say, but I want to get further in. And so even so, I believe in the miracle that happened back then. And so the miracle that happened back then, and in the end, I never saw him eye to eye on that. So the miracle, we don't know what the miracle is. There's a miracle. I believe in that miracle. So I'm assuming that has to do with the coordinate powers. I'm assuming it has to do with something with the coordinate with the founding Titan. There's something to do with the miracle. We don't know what that is, but it has something to do with the founding Titan, I'm sure. We're getting Uri's perspective in this episode of how Uri views the founding Titan, which is interesting because Rod, I commented back a few episodes ago that Rod's perspective has been based upon his experience. And when he's asked his father and brother and daughter for why they can't save humanity, and they've always had kind of the same response, now we're getting what that response is and how Uri views the world based on the founding Titan and what he's learned from gaining the memories of the other previous from his father and those before him. So it's interesting. Yeah. Interesting. And then we cut to his daughter Frida eating him. Yep. And then, just like he said, the monster was passed on. One look in her eyes and I knew he was in there. Oh, man, that's chilling. That's chilling. Rod's daughter preached to anyone who would listen. That's just, ugh. But here's the thing. Grisha gained the purple coordinate eyes when he ate Frida. I've been thinking this whole time that Grisha's not been related to the royal family, but he gained the purple eyes too, right? And he passed them on to Eren. So, but I've never seen Eren with the purple eyes. We've just seen Eren with the green eyes. So, what's the deal? Eren doesn't have the same eyes that she does, and neither did Grisha, but I swear they turned purple for a second. About love, peace, and all that he used to preach. How'd you find time to talk about such useless shit? Is it because you're so powerful that you have that luxury? Okay. So delving into the idea that when you're part of the upper class and stuff and you don't have any other conflicts, you have time to think about that sort of thing. If somebody obtains that power, and this is the part that I was like, the whole episode I was like, oh my God, if somebody obtains that power, would they be the same way too? And that's what drove Kenny's dream. For example, even me. And that's Kenny's dream. So, Kenny's dream to gain the power. And it wasn't just his whole thing, his whole drive for power this whole time. It wasn't just power to be strong. It was the literal power of the coordinate. That's what he's wanted this whole time. Because, and we find out the reasons for it. And he tells this sect of the military police, he's like, I'm in the black coat. I've slit so many military police throats like yours that I'm bored of it. And he has all of them there. A lot happened, and it seems I'm the captain of this new anti-personnel control squad. Okay, so this is after Wall Maria fell, right? So the anti-personnel squad came after Wall Maria. Okay. Of this new squad after Wall Maria, after it fell. So I'm a little bit upset about that. You know why? Because this anti-personnel squad, that means that it did not exist while Uri was king. It did not exist while Uri was trying to create paradise. It happened after Frida gained the coordinate powers. It didn't happen after Wall Maria fell. No, it happened in between. Yeah, it happened after. Okay, so this all. Oh, well, that's what we don't know. Okay. We don't know if this happened before Wall Maria fell or afterwards, because it's either one of two things. But I still think this all happened under Rod Reese. The anti-personnel squad happened under Rod Reese because, one, I can't foresee Frida creating the anti-personnel control squad. I can't see that. No. Frida was too busy teaching Historia how to read and going and visiting her. So Frida was probably busy doing that while Rod was controlling as king. Because, yeah, Frida's not queen at this point. Frida's just the daughter of the king, which is Rod. So Rod's the one who created the anti-personnel squad. So right at 8 years ago, even before Wall Maria fell, 8 years ago, he created the anti-personnel squad and started silencing people. But, I mean, here's the thing. Well, people have been silenced before them because Erwin's dad was silenced, and that was years ago. Right? But at the same time, Armin's parents, Sonus and them silenced Armin's parents, and then they started making the anti-personnel, the ODM gear, and smuggling stuff to the black market, and that was all during Frida and Rod Reese's time. That wasn't during Uri's time of this new anti-personnel control squad. So this basically like OSS group for the military police was started once Rod Reese took over, which I don't like. That makes me feel like Rod Reese is still slimy because he started this new anti-personnel control squad after Uri had died. Uri seems like a pacifist. Uri seems like he had these grand ideals of building paradise and he was a pacifist. And then once Rod took over, Rod had very different ideals because even back when they confronted Kenny, Rod wanted to just kill him. Rod was like, let's get rid of him. He knows too much. Silence him. And Uri's compassion and kindness was like, no. We're gonna become Kenny's new friends. We're gonna make friends with Kenny. And Rod doesn't seem like the type of person that wants to do that. He's so paranoid and afraid and has become that over time and trying to protect the powers of the royal family that he just started killing people and creating the personnel squad. Yep. Okay, interesting. And it always says, nice to meet ya. Nice to meet ya. He has that accent that says, nice to meet ya. And then he's like, yeah, it doesn't make much sense that I'm your captain either, but here we are. And I'm sure I've all pissed you all off that I'm not from the military and I'm still your boss. And then that's when Kaven speaks up and she's like, it doesn't matter. 2 years since the wall fell. Okay. And people have given up fighting Titans. Okay. And squabbling over the lands they have left instead. Okay. So now we get the timeline. I was wondering if it was before Maria or not, but it's 2 years after. Okay. So this makes all the more sense. Yeah. At this point, this is crazy. So at this point, you had Uri, who was like the pacifist king, who just wanted to create paradise, just wanted everything to stay peaceful like it had been. But then Wall Maria fell, Grisha took the coordinate power. So it seems like when Uri died, Uri's memories went to Frida and things were still peaceful like they had been up until 5 years ago. And then Wall Maria fell. Rod got freaked out because his entire family was slaughtered and went into a paranoid state of frenzy where he's like, I've got to protect Historia and keep her hidden. What are we going to do? And that, like, within 2 years of Wall Maria falling, that's when they made the personnel squad. When I do the recap, this whole thing is just going to be a timeline, like in just one long loop. It's going to be a giant timeline. It's going to be a bit crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen Red Letter Media, but there's like Scientist Man. I feel like I'm going to be like Scientist Woman and like trying to explain all this, like Teacher Woman trying to explain all this when we get to it. Oh God. I'm dreading the recap video, just so you all know. I'm dreading it so much already. It's going to be like 6 hours. No, it won't be. It won't be. No. Don't. No. But yeah, so Uri died. The pacifist king died. Frida seemed like she was filling in his footsteps and was being like the idealistic leader too. And she was the same way. She would keep going to Historia and all of that. Seems legit. But then she dies at Wall Maria falling the night of 5 years ago. And then 2 years later, Rod forms this anti-personnel squad to start dealing with people. I'm wondering if it was also as well because they were suspecting like the Survey Corps and Erwin. They were suspecting that Erwin might get out of hand and trying to go beyond the wall, and they wanted to keep him in check. And the idea that they were trying to find where Grisha was. They were trying to find Grisha and silence him. Little did they know Grisha was already dead. And then they found out that Eren was the Titan. Interesting. Because at this point in the timeline, 2 years afterwards, would have been when Eren and them joined the cadets. So around the time that this personnel squad started is around the time that Eren and the others joined the cadets. Interesting. And that's when Kaven says, that's what we're here for, right? To stop the people. We followed the rules, climbed the ranks of the military, and here we are. And saying that doesn't matter to me, it's all pointless anyway. Yeah, so in Kaven's mind, Kaven's like, look, we're the anti-personnel squad to deal with people, to deal with the rioters, the fact that Wall Maria's fallen, we've had to lose all these different members of all these different populations of society. People are fighting. There's like famine has broke out. The rations are all ruined. Like it's all starting to crumble. And we're here to just keep everybody in line and to keep things from getting any worse. She's like, doesn't matter to me. She's like, I know I'm going to end up killing humans. So it's all pointless. And that kind of like nihilistic view, Kenny's like, wait, what? And in this moment, Kenny like gets that creepy look on his face. And he looks like a monster. He's like, don't you worry. This squad to counter the scouts ain't even legit. To counter the scouts, okay. It's nothing more than a guise I thought up. Oh. And everybody's like, just to make those shits on the council nod their heads. Then why are we here? I'll tell you why. It's all for a grand dream. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. I was like, okay, this all makes sense now. Kenny's grand plan. So, 2 years after Wall Maria fell, I'm sure that Kenny came up to Rod, or Rod was totally fine with it, and he's like, hey, the scouts are starting to go beyond the walls a little bit more than perhaps they should, right? And they're going to end up inviting more Titans in, or they're going to find out something that they shouldn't. And we obviously can't just go and mass murder the cadets, or mass murder the Survey Corps. So what we're going to do instead is start this anti-personnel squad. So if any of the scouts get out of line, we'll silence them. That's what he told Rod Reese and the council, and I'm sure they were all like, yeah, sure, go right ahead. That seems legit. It'll help we got to keep the wall secrets safe, whatever they are. So sure, go do that. But actually, his dream was to get the coordinate powers. Kenny's was. So it was all to try to help get and find the coordinate and get it to where Kenny could have those powers and change the world. Because at this point, the inner circle probably know that the coordinate's out there somewhere and they don't know where it is, whether it's Grisha or he's passed it on to someone else. They don't know. So there's nobody really that has the coordinate powers within Walsina, within the council. It's Eren at this point. So the funny irony in all of this is that while they have this military police group that has access to the cadets, they don't even realize that Eren's the coordinate with the cadets at this time. While all this foundation is being laid, they have no clue that Eren, as well as the Colossal Titan and Armor Titan, are in the cadets right now while this is being formed. Isayama, my dude. It's brilliant. I love it. So yeah, the power rivaling a god. And all who get their hands on that power somehow become compassionate. So you see Kenny in the paper about the Colossal Titan kicking in the wall. You see the paper about the wall and everything, right? All those. Is that the wall or is that the boulder plugging up the wall? We don't know. It seems like, the question is the picture of the gate being destroyed, the paper he has in his hand, is that from when Wall Maria was destroyed, or is it when Eren plugged the wall up? So, all who get the power, and to Kenny, who has lived a life of violence and has never known compassion, but he did, because he saved Levi. He saved Levi. He was compassionate enough to not kill him, but maybe he just doesn't even realize it. Maybe he doesn't realize that act of saving Levi was compassion. Maybe he just doesn't think it was enough. But all who gets their hands on that power become compassionate. And it cuts to Uri. Would it be the same for a shit like me? And when he confronts Rod and everything. And I gotta know. So when he confronts Rod and them about it. But then that's when he finds out from Rod that he's not going to fully get the powers because he's not related to the royal family. He's not related to a Reese. Oh, God. And so then, what does it feel like? From their point of view, what do they actually see? Yeah, could trash like me see the world the same way that you saw it? That's beautiful. I love it. But I think he could have, even without the Titan powers. And then he cuts to him back in the present. Well, Uri. Yeah. And that's when Levi and them find him. So here's a curious thing about all this. Eren, before getting the coordinate powers, that's interesting because Eren, before getting the coordinate powers, he was like snottier and was all about maybe he wasn't as compassionate. And then once he did get the coordinate powers, because we've talked this whole season about Eren going through this identity crisis and having this moment of realizing all these things, and Eren has been more compassionate. I would argue Eren has been way more compassionate since episode 12 when he activated the coordinates powers. He became more compassionate. So maybe that has something to it. Maybe there's something to it. Okay. All right. But I think Kenny was capable of compassion before because he saved Levi and he clearly had compassion towards Kaven there at the end. And he didn't just kill Historia outright. So, all right. And that's when Levi finds him. And that's when he shows him the case. He's like, seems that if I inject this, I'll turn into a Titan. Yeah. One of those dumb Titans, unfortunately. So Levi knows that much. Levi's learned that much. For a while, it should extend my life. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the question of, but then we go back to the whole idea of what's worth living. So then that's the question, right? Because like Ymir commented, it was like being stuck in a nightmare. And for Kenny, when he told Rod was like, if you just let me kill Eren with Historia, I'll let you go and you can live out the rest of your days in peace. And Kenny's like, oh, trapped within these walls, just breathing my last breath under the suppression of you, that would bore me to death. So him becoming a Titan, yeah, it's basically the same thing. He's like, yeah, I could become a Titan and it would extend my life, but I'd just be a dumb Titan wandering the world like I was in a nightmare. Is that really living at that point? Is it? So, damn. I hadn't even thought of it that way. And Levi just looking at him. You've had the time and strength to inject yourself. I talked about that. I'm like, you could have done it before, but he didn't. Why haven't you? And he's like, yeah, but he's like, I wonder. And you think that if he'd tried to do it, if he hadn't done it just right, he would have ended up like Rod. Yep, all messed up. Which makes me wonder if the ones that, because here's the thing, the Titans that were on the wall with Ymir, they all got injected, it seemed like, in the back of their nape and became Titans. But Frida injected her arm, right? She didn't do the back of the nape. So, and it seemed like Grisha injected him in the arm. So is there I guess it doesn't matter where you inject at. So then apparently the abnormal Titans that we've seen in this series have been either humans that maybe drank it on accident or weren't injected properly, and that's why they become abnormals. You're not sitting here waiting to die. Don't you have a better excuse? He's like, I don't want to die, but he's gonna, because I wanted power. Yeah. And then he sees, and then this flashback, I wanted to pause it so bad during the reaction, but this flashback, he's like, I wanted power. And he didn't want to die. He's like, I think I understand why he did it after all this time. And Levi's like, huh? Who are you talking about? So Levi hears this, but he doesn't understand the context like we do. And then that's when Kenny starts laughing and saying that... and seeing Kenny so like Kenny having the compassionate eyes at the very end and being so soft in this moment, everybody I met was all the same, right? And then we see it all going through. We see Sonus. He's like, they're drinking. We see Sonus drinking away. And we see women. We see Rod Reese with Alma, his affair, his infidelity. And we see worshiping God, the people. It's people, they're all like what they're drunk on. So you have Sonus that's literally drunk on alcohol. He's a literal alcoholic. You have Rod Reese who's drunk on women and sex, basically. He has 5 kids. He has another one with Alma. You have people who are drunk on religion, worshiping God. And then you have people that are drunk on the concept of family, the king. So you have the concept of being drunk on family with his father, the Ackermanns, and protecting the family line. People who are drunk on the power of the king, like Sonus. So wait, the other guy before wasn't Sonus, the guy drinking. He wasn't Sonus, right? It was a different guy. I want to go back. To that real quick. Because that guy wasn't the same as Sonus. It was a different man. Yeah, so he makes the comment that everybody I met was all the same. So that guy wasn't, or was it Sonus? Maybe it was. Who knows? Maybe it was Sonus. The king, yeah. Dreams. So it shows all the people, the personnel squad and Kenny's dream. They're drunk on the idea of a dream outside the walls. Yep, or a different life. Children. And seeing Levi's mom Kutchel when she was beautiful, and seeing her hold baby Levi. Oh, and she's so pretty. She looks a lot like Kenny. And when Kenny dies here at the end, he looks a lot like Kutchel when she dies. Yeah. But, oh, man, damn. Her with Levi and drunk on power, and we see him with the knife and the blood. Everyone had to be drunk on something to keep pushing on, to keep wanting to live, to keep surviving. Yep. Even everyone was a slave to something. Even Uri. He was a slave to that ideal, the ideal of creating paradise. Damn. And Levi's like, what the hell are you talking about? And what are you? Yeah, like, what are you a slave of? Are you a hero? And Levi's like, no, I'm here to get answers, damn it. That you're not giving me. He's like, tell me everything you know. He's like, why doesn't the first king want humanity to survive? Why did they want them to be controlled by Titans? He's like, I don't know. But the Ackermanns opposed him for whatever that reason was. And then he like coughs blood on Levi. And Levi knows his name's an Ackermann too. I'm glad he finds all this out. What were you to my mother? And when he says, what were you to my mother? I think for a second, Levi was like, dear God, are you my dad? And Kenny's like, no, not much. Just a brother. You idiot. Just her brother. And Levi being like just that look on his face is he's in, like, it's the most expressive we've seen Levi, like, this whole season, except No Regrets. It's like the most expressive we've ever seen him, being like, shit, you've been my uncle this whole time. Why did you leave me? And we see him watching as he walks away, looking just as forlorn. And that day, why? Why did you leave me? And then Kenny, I love this line, because I'm not meant to be somebody's father. And he pushes the case into Levi's chest as he dies. Nope. It's yours now. And then, yeah, he looks just like his... And that's the thing, he looks like his mom when he dies, except his eyes open. Damn it. I can't believe he's dead. Yeah, so the idea of everybody being a slave to something to survive. Yep. Whether it was women or children or family or power, or in Uri's case, the ideal that you have, the ideal of paradise, the idea that there's a possibility of there being a utopia. That idea kept them going. Like, it gave them purpose. Like, it's everyone's a slave to these ideals to survive in this world, right? It's like Uri's, the idea of paradise. You have to tell yourself that that's the ideal, because that's what keeps you going. That's what gives you purpose. It makes your life have meaning, right? And so whatever the reason that the founding Titan wanted to create the walls and create this world, whether it was that paradise or whatever, it was all as a means of justifying their existence, right? Damn. And then this episode, so much happened. We get Historia. She looks beautiful. Historia and there was like a crown and the scepter and stuff. The crown, her as Queen Historia. She looks so regal. And there's Pixis and Zachary's the one to crown her, and Erwin's standing beside them. But her being crowned and everyone being happy because she's the girl who toppled the Titan bigger than the wall. Yes, and all the people of Orville District witnessed it. And there you see Marlowe and Hitch watching. And in this moment, and there's Roy and the guy that's name starts with a P, and there's Moblet and Flegel and Hanji. I love the Hanji's become friends with all the locals that helped them during this. I love it. And then Flegel saying she's the true ruler of the walls, Queen Historia. And then Erwin smiling because she's like, let me deal the killing blow to the Titan. That way we can unite the walls as one and stabilize the situation. You know, back in season 1, I'll be honest with y'all, and I'm going to talk about this in the recap. Back in season 1, I thought Historia was going to be this little side character that just, like, was going to be the sweet and innocent side character that she was going to die by the end of season 1. I'm like, Historia ain't going to make... I mean, like, Krista ain't going to make it past season 1. She's going to die. And then she didn't. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we got the whole thing with Ymir and Krista. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're setting up Ymir and Krista's relationship. And then we got shown that Ymir was a Titan. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like Beauty and the Beast. We're going to have Krista having this relationship with the Titan shifter. What's that going to do to the dynamic of everything and how we view the Titans? And then it comes out that Historia's noble family. It's like, okay, cool. And then we find out this season that Historia is not only royalty, but that she's a freaking badass and that she basically killed her own father to stabilize through violence, making friends. Oh my God. It's living out Yuri's words. It's doing the same thing. Even though she doesn't have the coordinate powers, it's doing the same thing Yuri was talking about. Making friends through conflict, through violence. She united all these people back together again because she killed her father, who was the Titan. Oh my God! And in that moment, whenever she says this, it's like, one, Historia proves that she has the power to be a queen. But also Erwin realizes that, okay, girl is smart and she knows what she's doing. And in that moment, he says to think she actually dealt the killing blow. And her in the dress and everything. And doing the thing, doing the cadet, the Survey Corps, the hand over the heart, Sasageo. Yeah, oh my God. Oh my God, it's great. So she's the queen. Okay. But I like that she ditches the crown. Her hair was so pretty done up like that, but she ditches it. She's like, screw this hairstyle. I'm beyond it. And she's still doing Christopher Peterson called it the Chad walk. She's still doing the Chad walk in just her gown without all the regalia. But everybody's in their long coats. I like that Mikasa's got the scarf under it. And Eren's like, wait, Mikasa was joking about her punching him, right? And Mikasa's like, after you smack him, tell him this. I dare you to hit me back. Mikasa chooses violence because she's an Ackermann. Right? She has a natural penchant for violence because she's an Ackermann. Maybe that's why Levi choked her in the manga, because he had a penchant for violence. And then, damn you. And if it's not a real grudge, just forget it. So I like that Eren's like, please don't get in a fight with Levi. He may hurt you because he's hurt me and I should know. And Armin's just sitting in the back. I like that Connie and Sasha are like wringing their hands like little gremlins. Like, yeah, fight, fight, fight. Armin's like, I'm kind of with Eren on this. Jean seems indifferent. And Mikasa's like, no, punch him. And then, oh yeah. No, Jean's in with the gremlin duo too. Jean's in on the gremlin duo as well. He's like, nah. That's the spirit. Get him. And then Levi's in a long coat too by himself. Next to the sunlight. And then I like the Historia's like, I don't know if I can do it. And she doesn't, and she gets like the big little pounce of fury, and she doesn't punch him in the face. She punches him in the gut, in the side. And she's still as short as she is, Levi is still a little bit taller than her. And I like everyone's reaction. Like, Armin, Eren, Sasha, Connie, and Jean are like, oh my God, she actually did it. And Mikasa's like, she did it. It's so good. It's so good. Oh my God. They're like, whoa. She's like, how'd you like that? I'm the queen. Oh my God. Proving she's still a 15-year-old, right? And Eren's like, oh my God. If you got a problem. But then Levi, he chuckles. And Levi's smiling in that moment. Levi's smiling in that moment, showing that emotion because he's just lost his uncle. And he's like, yeah, I had it coming probably. And you could tell, thank you, all of you. And it's like, you can tell Levi's probably been sad that Kenny's dead, that his uncle's died. And in that moment, he's like, I needed something to make me feel a little bit better. And you all did. But here's the thing. Levi has the serum. He has a serum. So we've got another Chekhov's gun, right? The serum is back within the Survey Corps and it's back within the walls. So there's one vial left that we know of. We don't know how much was stored up. We don't know if there's like a secret storeroom somewhere with all the vials of serum. We don't know if Rodriguez put all the serum in this one little briefcase. If maybe this briefcase of serum is all that there's ever been. We don't know. But they have a vial. And I thought they were going to touch upon it in this episode, but they didn't. But here's the thing. At some point, Historia can still become a Titan. She could still eat Eren. Someone else within the walls can still become a Titan, and they could still eat Eren. So that is still on the table. Ugh. And now that Levi has it, I'm like, what is he going to do with it? That's the thing. What is Levi going to do with the serum? We don't know. We don't know. But this episode's not over. Because guess what? I was like, I thought the episode was over, and I was like, oh, okay, well, Levi, they had their little moment. He's grateful for the cadets, for the Levi squad. It's great. Historia's queen. God, our Kenny's dead. Chalk it up. But no, we get this like last minute and a half of, oh my God. So Reiner, I was waiting for us to cut back to Reiner and Bertolt before the end of this part because they were in the OP. It is time. So, yeah. So Reiner, we cut back to Reiner and Bertolt and them. And Reiner falling onto the houses. So are they in Shiganshina? Is that where we're at? Are we in Shiganshina? We don't know. But, so this whole thing about the aging Titan now. I'm curious to know if Reiner's Titan having gray hair, is that a sign that Reiner's aging slowly too? Is that a sign of that? Yuri's Titan was bald, so, but it didn't seem like it was fully formed, so that's interesting. But yeah, so, oh, and then in comes Bertholdt with the ODM gear. So they ran away with the ODM. Oh my God. With the ODM. He's like, Reiner! But Reiner, the armor around his face is wrecked. And the armor, looks like he has almost bullet holes in the side of his chest plate. Or like something has punched him and like the knuckle got him. Oh, Reiner. Oh my God. Yeah, the armor's just crushed. Oh, and then he pulls Reiner out. Oh. Welp. So while everybody's been dealing with all this whole time, way back over, and I'm assuming this is Shiganshina, way back there, the Beast Titans with Reiner and Bertolt. I won. Shit. Oh my God. Saving Annie can come later. So, okay. I'm wondering if Reiner and Bertolt tried to tell the Beast Titan that they needed to go rescue Annie now, because Bertolt likes Annie. I wonder if they told the Beast Titan, they're like, we need to go rescue Annie now. And the Beast Titan was like, nope. And Reiner's like, well, if I beat you, then I wonder if that was the thing. He's like, well, I'll fight you, and if I beat you, then we'll go rescue Annie. And the Beast Titan's like, okay. And it didn't work. And Bertolt looking up to them. Oh, retrieving the coordinate is our priority, as it should be. And then Reiner just looks worse for wear. And then we got this blonde dude with the glasses popping on out of the Beast Titan. Shirtless and everything. Shirtless as always. If we just wait here, it'll come to us. So yeah, if we just wait here, it'll come to us, the coordinate. I don't know why the Beast Titan refers to it as it'll come to us, because I'm assuming at this point, Reiner and Bertolt have told the Beast Titan that it's Eren. I don't know. But I wanted to get a glimpse of this guy taking off the glasses. Huh. The glasses. Okay, it looks like they're right outside the wall, so I'm guessing this is Shiganshina. I'm guessing. And then this guy with the blonde hair, the long blonde hair. And looking freaking ripped, but it has like military boots. Huh, has the military boots. So, dude is ripped with the beard and everything. Okay, looking bored. this show do this? It gives us shirtless Beast Titan and shirtless Eren. I don't want those things. I want shirtless Levi and Erwin. Why can't you give me these things, show? So, I guess what the Beast Titan is saying is that we need to launch a plan now and an assault now to go and take the coordinate by force. Because if we wait, it'll come to, or if we wait, it'll come to us. So yeah, okay. So they're in Shiganshina, where the basement is. Yeah, okay. All right. So that's what the Beast Titan is saying. The Beast Titan is saying they're in Shiganshina now. So maybe what Reiner was wanting to do, Reiner and Bertolt wanted to go back inside the walls to retrieve Annie. They're like, we need to go get Annie. Let's go get her. And then we'll come. And then maybe we'll get the coordinate while we're there and then come back. And the Beast Titan's like, no, we're not going back inside the walls. That's a bad idea because they'll know that we're coming. He's like, no, the coordinate will come to us. We need to retrieve the coordinate. That's the priority right now. If we wait, it will come. So if you build it, they will come. So they know the basement. This Beast Titan knows Grisha. It has to, right? Otherwise, why would it think that the coordinate would come to them? So Reiner and Bertolt, they don't know. Wait, okay, Reiner and Bertolt, they stayed behind and stuck in. Well, wait a minute. I've got to think about this for a second. I've got to think back to season 1. Back in season 1, Annie went into the military police, and Reiner and Bertolt stayed behind in the Survey Corps. Right? Yeah, Reiner and Bertolt stayed behind the Survey Corps because Bertolt was looking back as Annie left. You stare too much, enough that everybody can tell. Yeah, so Bertolt was staring when Annie left. So they stayed in the Survey Corps. They knew Erwin's plan. And they knew about the basement. So they heard about the basement. So it may be that the Beast Titan doesn't know Grisha, but I'm guessing Grisha knows the Titan Shifters. And it seems like all the Titan Shifters know each other. So I'm guessing the Beast Titan knows Grisha in some capacity. Somewhat. How, why, we don't know yet. But I have a feeling that they know each other at least. Because otherwise, it feels like Grisha being a Titan Shifter is that reason. So, but it's probable that Reiner and Bertolt told the Beast Titan that Erwin and them are planning on coming back to Shiganshina and getting to the basement. And that's why they're training there. And that's why the Beast Titan's like, we just need to wait. And they're going to come to us on our turf. And that's when we take them. It didn't look like there were any other Titans around, though. So that's curious. It didn't look like there were any other Titans around. So I don't know if they were all just, if the Beast Titan just told them all to stay back while he fought Reiner. But the fact that the Beast Titan can beat Reiner is scary, and definitely Isayama showing us that the Beast Titan is not to be messed with. Because Eren couldn't even get a hit on Reiner. He had to choke Reiner out to try to even get him to come out. He couldn't break the armor, but the Beast Titan can. I'm like, how? How can the Beast Titan break the armor when he's just got the fists? So, we have 2 episodes left of the season. 2 episodes left of part 1. It's like, what we gonna do? So, all these themes are gonna come back in the recap. God, this recap is gonna be, again, a nightmare. I've got to start prepping now. I still have 2 episodes to watch. And I usually watch the entire season. In the past, the last 2 recaps I've done, I've watched the entire season and then started my notes. I can't do that now. I need to start going back through the entire series and rewatching and start taking notes. Oh, God. And then by the time I get through part 2, it's probably going to be even worse. But at least I'll have watched all the way through once. I at least need to rewatch all of season 3, starting now, to start making notes. Oh, my God. I told myself, y'all were like, oh, you need to split the recap into part 1 and part 2 so you don't have, more than 3 hours per recap. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But yeah, so we have 2 episodes left. Again, I don't know what's happening next because we have so much that's on the table. You have Bertolt Reiner training with the Beast Titan for something. We don't know what. I wonder too if this whole Titan thing making them age faster, if that's the reason why we've not seen Bertolt become a Titan that often, because I imagine it takes so much energy to, and maybe that's why they age so fast. They use up so much energy to transform back and forth from human into Titan form that it takes up so much energy that they have to, that just ages their body naturally. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know. But maybe that's why Bertolt hasn't become the Titan, but Bertolt's become the Titan that we know of three times. He became it at Shiganshina, he became it at Trost, and he partially became it on Wall Rose. Those have been the only 3 times he's transformed into a Titan. So maybe that's why he's not aged that much. And maybe that's why he's not transforming that much, because they need to reserve his energy. Huh. Okay. So that's the question too, is if the Beast Titan found Bertolt and Reiner and Annie and Marcel as children, I'm thinking back, I'm trying to think of the origins of the Titans. If the Beast Titan found them all as kids, because he's an older man, then were the original Colossal and Armored Titans and Female Titan and whatever Marcel was, were they older at the time and they were aging and they've been trying to get in the wall this whole time? I don't know. But the Beast Titan was like, we needed some kids to eat y'all so that they can live longer and we have more time with them. Because Bertolt said back in episode 10 of season 2 that they didn't remember eating the Titan that caused them to transform into what they did. So, I don't know. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 episodes, y'all. I have no clue going into this. We have a vial of Titan serum and a needle that Levi has that we know nothing we don't know anything that he's done with it so far. If he's kept it for himself and kept it hidden, or if he's given it to Erwin, or what's happening. I don't know if we'll touch upon that in the next episode. Historia is queen now, and Erwin seems to trust her, but we're entering into uncharted waters. The people seem behind her because she saved them all, right? But we're entering uncharted waters because it's like all those people underground in the interior police that were on Uri and Frida's side and Rod's side. Are they all going to just be tortured like Zachary once, and then we're going to have a whole new interior council? How is that going to work? Like, are we restructuring everything? What's that going to be like? Where does the Levi squad fit into all this? Where does Eren fit into all this? This whole idea of compassion and the founding Titan. Oh, we're in the penultimate episode next, and then the season finale after that. Oh my God, y'all. How long have I talked? I've talked for 1 hour and 40 minutes. No. This whole video is going to be over 2 hours long. Oh God. Oh no. One of you commented a few weeks ago, back in episode 6, you're like, oh, the day that we enter the length of the videos are the same as the recap for season 1. What was the recap for season 1? I have to know. Maybe I've got to edit this video down, so it might not end up being that long, but I've got to know. I need to check my playlist real quick. So now that you all have asked, how long was the recap for season 1? I've got to go back and look. The recap for season 1 was 1 hour and 57 minutes. I don't think we'll hit it in this. I don't think we'll hit it yet, but oh my God. Okay. Welp. There's that. We're getting closer. So yeah, okay. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my ramblings. I'm sorry it was this long. If you've listened all the way through it to this point, I wish I could send you a cookie or a medal. But holy crap. Okay, so yeah. So we're here we are. 2 episodes left. I'm sure I won't talk this much for those 2. But yeah, so in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please comment down below, tag spoilers, or leave a bunch of spaces if you're going to have spoilers. But let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for listening to me. Stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next for the penultimate episode of Season 3, Part 1 of Attack on Titan. Bye!